Good morning, class, or good afternoon or evening, depending where you're located. My name is Brian Meeker, and we are in Profiles in Peace together. I'd like to take this opportunity to give you a quick overview as to why I chose the individual that I did, and hopefully you will be as fascinated as I am by this peacekeeper. Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, and one of the greatest sports movies of all time. How these tie into peacemaking is what I'm going to explain. So a friend of mine and I were watching a classic movie, White Man Can't Jump, for about the 15th time. And about a third of the way through the movie, there is a discussion about the difference in hearing music versus actually just listening to the music. And we paused the movie, and we had one of those rare reflective moments, and we looked at each other and said, who is an act or an artist or a band that we kind of have listened to, but we've never really heard? And we tossed a couple of names out there. Bruce Springsteen was one of them. A second one that we both looked at each other and it just clicked. We both said almost at the same time, U2. And that was really profound because when you look at that band, they have many songs and many activities that deal with peace and activism and human rights. So I'm going to go over a quick bio of their lead singer. Bono was actually born Paul Hewson, and he was born in Ireland. Early in his career, he devoted himself and his band to political activism. As he progressed through the 80s and 90s, U2 became more known for their activist songs and for being involved in humanitarian issues and crises around the globe than they were for some of their albums. Which is interesting because one of their albums was actually called War, which came out in the 1980s, but that was a critically panned album. Once I started listening again to their songs, I realized just how engaged and involved some of his lyrics were. But from an activism standpoint and from a peacekeeping standpoint, it's important that we know that peace is not just preventing or concluding a drastic intercontinental war. It can be addressing or engaging on the issues that make life a disaster on a daily basis for individuals. And that's one of the things that Bono and U2 have done through one of his organizations. He was the co-creator of a group called Product Red, which is a major accomplishment considering some of the brands and logos involved. Basically what this effort is it's encouraging major manufacturers to produce a red colored version of a particular item and then donate a certain percentage of that sale of that particular item to affecting or to dealing with people that are affected by HIV and AIDS. Additionally, he co-founded a group called Eden, EDUN, and that group is focusing on helping farmers who basically just scratch out a living every day and teaching them how to set up a business model that keeps them from being exploited by first world nations, especially those of us in the West. Additionally, and more recently, he was a leader of a Haiti relief effort that garnished almost $60 million in aid around the world, according to TED.com. Finally, and as a school teacher, this is near and dear to my heart, he was able to agitate parents. There were a group of parents at a New Hampshire school that protested to the school district superintendent because they felt that Bono's Project One outreach system was too liberal and too political, and it smacked too much of one political party. So they protested against the school district using the Project One as some of their human outreach or some of their community service social studies teaching. Fortunately, the school district stood where they initially had decided to go with and used his Project One to educate high school students. Looking at the criteria that I used for choosing Bono, I started listening to some of his songs and I realized I'd never really heard them. Some of the songs that I thought were just catchy little tunes actually had an incredible political significance. Bono and U2 wrote songs about a Bosnian genocide. They wrote songs about what it was like to be facing a nuclear holocaust. They wrote songs about how civil rights movements were stymied in England when English police officers fired on unarmed civil protesters from Ireland. And they also talked, more importantly, about civil rights here in the United States. And they mentioned how someone, a particular civil rights leader, was slain on a Memphis hotel balcony. And you consider issues like that, and you realize that for a long time you may have actually just been listening to an artist, but you didn't hear what that artist had to say. And again, I chose Bono because not only was he willing to use his music to convey a message, he was awarded the United Nations Man of Peace Award in 2008. So his combined actions to educate and to promote peace made him well worthy of this study. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.